Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on July the 9th, 2019. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, shiny, glittery, and gleamy.
You made me sound like a stripper. Caffeine Rage?
On today's show, we will, of course, be discussing the games that we've played this week. Developers petition G2A to take down indie games as controversy erupts again. Xbox Game Pass is the first time subscription. Nope. Xbox Game Pass is the first time subscription is fair for developers. Zachademics makes entire library free to schools in Zachademics Program. Cuphead is getting a Netflix series. We'll discuss some probably community game night stuff on this week's Community Corner and have a Steam Discovery queue. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
I just ignored your laughter like a professional because it'll be muted and no one would know. But of course, I mention it because that's what I do.
You take good things and ruin them.
Absolutely.
But then again, isn't that half a therapy?
Taking good things and ruining them?
Well, people's self-coping skills. I don't know. I was being sarcastic.
I do ruin a lot of things in therapy, but it tends to be bad things that people have built up over time. Sometimes good ones too, though. I'm not perfect.
Yeah, you ever look at somebody? Somebody's psyche is like, oh, this is above my pay grade.
I have had that happen a few times, actually, and in those cases, I refer them out to a different facility. So, I don't usually say it to them as in, oh, you're above my pay grade. You need to go to somebody else. I usually say, it seems the type of expertise you require is not something that my specialty is in. My specialized area of training is in marriage and family therapy, and what you need is X, whatever that thing is. It's like, allow me to help get you a referral to
the funny farm
or a place. And then later, when I'm talking to Ken or another therapist I know, any of the other ones will be like, yeah, and I was working with this client that had this and that. And I'm like, listening to them, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is way above my pay grade. I actually have someone that I think might have what was previously called multiple personality disorder and now is referred to as dissociative identity disorder. That if that's actually what they have, and this isn't some sort of complex trauma response, that's way above my pay grade. But multiple personality is actually very difficult to genuinely diagnose. So I need more time with them before I make a judgment call on that.
What, you mean you can't just Dr. Phil and talk to them for 5 minutes and then have all their problems sorted out?
Nope.
Hey, what type of shrink are you? All right, a good one.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
my heart.
Well, considering the bar I said, that's not exactly a compliment.
Yeah, Dr. Phil is interesting. What he does on his show is terrible, aside from a lot of the resources that he discusses and brings up and recommends to people. But I mean, they're trying to compress what would be, at best, weeks, but typically months worth of therapeutic intervention down into, a 5-minute spot on the show. So that just doesn't work. It just doesn't work that way. If it
Maybe
did,
they should have some sort of different format for the show,
Yeah, but then it wouldn't be as interesting, I don't think. At least not to the general viewer. I've got to find it. There's a show that someone showed me. At one point in time that was a very, I don't know, I guess in my circles, famous psychologist that would do single sessions with celebrities, and they were genuine recorded therapy sessions, and he would just do one session with them, and they would, my phone's not on silent, and they would go through whatever they could within an hour, and I found that fascinating. A regular person might find that boring. The show only got one season on whatever TV network aired it. So I guess it didn't get very good ratings, but what I've seen of it, it was really fascinating. And I want to try and find it and watch the whole thing.
It got bumped for Survivor up yours. Took you a moment there. Right?
Yeah.
Just how many seasons are there of Survivor now?
Oh, God.
Too many.
100?
That's how many.
100,000 million? Something like that. I'm trying to think of a really clever segue to games, but I got nothing. So do you just want to go talk about some games we played?
I guess we can.
Sweet. Let's do that.
I guess I'll go first this week. Back to normal.
Yeah.
So I got some time with Motorsport Manager this week, mostly while I was waiting around for UPS to show up. Turns out, they were running late this week. I guess there was a lot of people buying burn ointment or something from Amazon.
Somebody's buying bath water on Amazon.
Oh, I saw about that. I was wondering, what the fuck is everybody talking about bath water all of a sudden? Then I found the source of it and thought, really?
On the one hand, I think that's really stupid. But on the other hand, if you can make money doing that, by all means, don't let me stop you.
Just, what the fuck, internet, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, in between, everybody having to get, aloe vera ointment for, various firework-related incidents, I got some time with Motorsport Manager 3. And, this is the fourth one I've played, because I played the PC one, and I played all the iterations up till now. This was a freebie, what was it, like 2 months ago now? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
On the Google Play Store. I'm guessing that it's to drum up hype for the next one that's probably coming out before too long, because if there's a 3, there's going to be a 4, right? And they've really changed a few things about this, particularly in the early game. So let's just get right into the game. Kind of bores me at times, and I think it's the fact that they put you in a rookie league to start off with and kind of encourage you to sit there for a while you build up your essentially your headquarters, build up your team for a while. And in all the other iterations of Motorsport Manager I've played, you've been the underdog. If you got in the top 10, that was a really good race for you for the first season, right? Yeah. Unless you knew exactly how to set up your car, and even then, it was a little bit iffy. I started a couple different save files just to see if this was a fluke, but no. They start you in either the Formula Series Rookie League or the GT Rising Stars League. You have a choice of the two, and there's slight differences between them. The GT Series can get bodywork damage, which will slow your car but not cripple your car, like the Formula does, or the open wheel cars, all right, because they're not all Formula One, but it's that's what I draw the parallel to. The Indy cars. Well, the Indy cars could take damage a lot easier, so there's a bit of back and forth between them, and also there's different rule sets. I think the Indy series has a longer season. It has more races, but you have choice in where you go in the very beginning. But you start off at either the top or the very top of the rookie league. But at the same time, they tell you whenever you're attempting to rank up that, okay, well, this league allows a development of this part, this part, this part, and this part, and you don't have all the research yet. But we're going to give you a bunch of money for winning the rookie league. So you go research that while you take another season there. Or at least it felt that way to me. But also the game does have, like all the other mobile iterations of it, the either buying direct money or buying essentially a super sponsor that will give you a ton of cash per race. So maybe it's bounced around that the people that pay in are able to get out of the rookie league in the first season. without having to just suffer through it. I'm not sure there. But yeah, it felt a little boring to me because of that. Well, like Psychologist said, overwhelming power is kind of boring. But outside of that, there's some interesting changes in it. Maybe it's just, since I knew how to play Motorsport Manager, there was no, difficulty settings to tweak in it. That I was able to, pretty much immediately go to usually either a 2 or 3 stop strategy, and if not win the race, get in the top 5 pretty much every single time. Except for one time that I had just random part failure. But that's racing for you, right?
Yeah.
But a couple of things that they've changed, well, outside of just putting you in a rookie league to start off with to, kind of boost you up. Part of me wonders if that's just, people complained about starting off at the bottom, so they wanted to give the rookie league a place to, kind of build your confidence up before you, go get your shit kicked out of you. But they changed the mechanics or the engineers a little bit, where instead of there being a full team of mechanics that you could swap in and out, they're segregated a little bit so that it's essentially the behind the scenes personnel. They also help on race day, and then there's 2 lead mechanics for each of the drivers, and they build up a relationship. I think Motorsport Manager 2 has as well. And as they build up their relationship, just by working together, they unlock various upgrades that get various power ups. Like for one driver I have, it's they perform better on a very specific set of tires, while another one, the other one is like they burn fuel slower, or there's a slightly faster pit stop. But this ties into the qualification mechanics that they changed out, where previously in Motorsport Manager, you were tweaking the actual car itself, going in and trying to get a feel of, okay, well, this track looks like it would really support a lot of top speed, so you would actually tweak the car, tweak the springs, the downforce, and everything. Well, now they've replaced it with a deck building mechanic, which just feels weird. I realize that makes it a lot more accessible, but as someone that's kind of gotten a feel for tweaking cars in Forza, going to this is like, what, really? So each of the driver mechanics, the mechanics that work with the drivers instead of the engineers that work behind the scenes and give a slight boost on race day, they have a number of wrenches based on their star level, from 0 to 5 stars. And that's used as essentially a mana source to play cards during qualification. So whenever you're setting a qualifying time, your mechanic will have, let's say, 15 wrenches, just to pull a random number out. And you have a choice at the start of 2 cards, usually one that's a very high cost and one that's a very low cost. And eventually, as you progress through the game with the headquarters system, which I'll get to in a little bit, you unlock the ability to get a 3rd and possibly a 4th card. I'm not particularly sure on the 4th. But let's say the high cost has a 0 to 10 cost. Well, if you pull it and you get a high number, it's kind of screwing you over, but you could play it risky and get a low number and boost your overall setup. And as you reach every 25% threshold, it gets your car a little bit faster. So I think it's 0.25 per threshold. So, you pull a 20% card that you're able to play for cheap, and then you use the low-cost card that has another 5%. Well, it knocks approximately 0.25 seconds off of your lap time. So you can see how it's very different from the previous, huh?
Yeah. The car mechanic especially feels weird.
Yeah, it just feels so odd. And also, if you go over, so let's say you had 7 left and you wanted to play it risky and play like a 0 to 10 card that would give you a big bonus. If you go over, you bust out, it drops you back down to your previous state. So if you're starting off the qualifications, it'll bring you back down to 0. If you had like 45% and your second tune-up after doing a quick lap, yeah, it'll bring you back down to 45% no matter what. You're kind of safe at that point. But it's just such a weird mechanic, especially since it feels just disconnected. It feels just out of place,
Yeah.
I mean, I realize that it's a lot more accessible because the previous one, you would do a rough guess and then you would do a lap or two and you'd come in based on some very vague information that the driver gave. And maybe the mechanic would give you a little bit more of a hint. But this feels like it's just going completely out of left field. And I'm not sure if I like it or not. It's one of those things that I'm conflicted about because I realize that it makes it a lot easier to be able to tune up a car. But at the same time, part of the fun of Motorsport Manager was eventually having, if not the perfect tune-up, near perfect that you could just, save and then go back to whenever you race that track again. Well, now it has this luck element that on top of everything else that I'm not sure really fits all that well. So I mentioned having a third slot. Well, that is tied into the upgrade and the supply mechanics. So they added a new layer to the headquarters called the supply chain. And when you start your team, you set up in either Asia or Central China, if I recall correctly, Europe, or the United States as like your team's home base. And this chooses the starting node on this world map. And you're able to branch out your supply network to various nodes, and certain nodes give you bonuses. Like I just unlocked the one that's in South America that gives bonus influence points, which we'll get to that in a little bit. But also scattered throughout the maps are airports, docks, shipping companies, and these are used to upgrade the various nodes. So like if I had a node that, or the central node that, I can't recall what the base one does, but let's say it gives a +1 to certain skills for my mechanics. Well, the second rank may require like one of each, one plane, one truck, and one boat. And it may make my drivers, drive a little bit better, and may make the cars a little more resilient. All the different nodes have different attributes, and it adds a new strategic layer, which is for a more long-term strategy. So all the nodes take several races to unlock, and going from continent to continent can take quite a while. Or you could skip all that with influence, which sounds like a premium currency, but it actually isn't. And influence is gained through various events and various contract deals, through signing sponsors. Some of the dilemmas may pop up with a influence point, or quite a few, depending on what happens. Winning the season also gives you some influence, if I recall correctly, and it's allows you to change certain things. Like, for example, you could force a driver to go into a more favorable negotiation by spending some influence. You could break a contract early with a sponsor by spending some influence. And that strategic use of the influence could also be used to break some rules potentially. In the creation of parts, they said that was a possibility, but I haven't gotten the opportunity to do it yet. But they definitely added to the game with that, a secondary resource to keep, because before it was just did I have enough money? Yes, excellent, that's all I need to worry about. But now you're forced to kind of weigh things. Like I had a dilemma pop up that gave me influence or gave me money. Well, it actually, before it would have been a no-brainer, just give me the money. But now it made me think, like, okay, do I want to have that to bank later, or have the money to be able to invest right now in my team? And I actually do like that, additional thought there, of having that influence to be able to change certain things that I may not like, or to give me a more favorable situation, especially going to contract negotiations. It could make it so that a driver that otherwise wouldn't talk to me open up the ability to negotiate, or make it so that a driver is more willing to negotiate, so I may be able to bargain down the contract a little bit easier. So I think that is a good change overall. And something else that they changed was the headquarters mechanic. Overall was now it's just a web of essentially technologies, and it's just money and time, and that feels a little boring to me. I think it was a little bit more in depth in the second game, if I recall correctly, but I may be mistaken on that one. But it's tied up between drivers, engineering, and finances. So there's just three areas to invest in, and it's not quite linear, but it's pretty linear on where you go, because there's a significant jump on the particular tiers, but it also gives you access to the technologies that you really need a lot sooner than you had in Motorsport Manager 2, if I recall correctly. Be able to just get weather forecasting very early, get additional sources of income, get the sixth sponsor slot, able to get the additional cards for qualifying fairly early if you focus on it, but if not, then decently early. It's an interesting change. And let's see, what else did they change? They added invitational events. It's essentially taking the national team and stepping away from your own private team to go do an additional event. I've only done one so far. There were two options with more available later on. There's endurance racing and there's elimination racing, which, if elimination racing is like in every other racing game, it's essentially after so many laps, the car in last place gets eliminated.
Yep.
So I'm imagining that's what it is in this. I'm not 100% certain, though. I did the endurance race, which was a fairly long race. My big complaint with it was my drivers had the endurance and mayflies. I had one driver out of my team that was able to do 2 laps. I'm not sure if that's just luck of the draw or not, because I've only done one invitational so far. It's about the halfway mark of the season, and I didn't play that long on both the save files I started. But yeah, that was rather frustrating to set up my usual marathon strategy of having hopefully one fewer pit stop, assuming weather holds and breakdowns doesn't happen. And set up for it, get the fuel set up right, so that they refuel. Oh, that's one thing, is that pit stops, it's only one action at a time. So, if you're changing tires and refueling, it's additive. So it's not, the longest action, which is a little frustrating whenever you're having to do the endurance racing. So the car pulls in, you change tires. Okay, now the driver's able to get out. It's not one fluid action like real racing is. And I found that incredibly frustrating. But yeah, the endurance racing, I disliked it just because my team wasn't all that good. It was kind of weird going from this team that was pretty much dominant to a national team that, one driver was able to do 2 or 3 laps. Another one was able to do 5. I think my best one was able to do 8 before the stamina mechanic started to kick in. And if the stamina reaches 0, they basically fall asleep at the wheel and they just kind of autopilot back to the pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
But that might just be the fact that, I just had a bad team on that. But it adds an additional layer of strategy. And there's also a championship that's based around endurance racing. But I just didn't have the team makeup to be able to do that. It requires a lot more drivers, obviously. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, it's kind of mixed for me because there's some things I really like. I like the supply network system, even though it can be gamed a little bit if you get very lucky with influence, because you're able to just buy outright a particular chain if you have enough influence. But it also allows you to skip the transcontinental wait times. Going from North America to Europe, I think it's like 5 races, which is the entire rookie season, for example. And it's all based around races. So, during the off season, you're kind of screwed. The HQ system, the changes they did to it feels more streamlined. There are top tier stuff that requires a lot of investment into that is very powerful. They also made it so that drivers have more personality about them. They have innate traits. Some of them, are just rather plain. Nothing outstanding. Others, they're more susceptible to various dilemmas. Some just have a natural personality, so they're more likable. So they went a long way to make the drivers not as disposable. But you still want to throw away a driver if they've hit their max potential, and you need someone a little bit better.
Right.
But some good changes, some bad changes. I really dislike the qualifying mechanic, but there's also some championships that do not use the qualifying mechanics at all. As far as I can tell, they just do a reverse order, but I'm not sure how they do the tuning in on the cars, or if it's just a one-time thing, or if it's just you still go through that setup. I'm not sure. But overall, I think it was definitely worth the pickup that I got. But I would say I think I liked Motorsport Manager 2 a little bit better. I think I like the struggle. I think the fact that they made it you pretty much overpowered in the very beginning was a bit of a joy kill to me,
Yeah.
But hey, you could go fire your drivers and then work your way up the rookie seasons. There is always that. So any thoughts?
I mean, I've got it, so I'll probably try it at some point as well. It doesn't sound.
It's not bad. It's just not great either. I never got around to the EBS system as well. I'm not sure how they handle it. I know that the league I was in, they voted on it, but it was voted down by 1 point or 1 vote. And you are able to spend influence to not cheat the vote, but make it so that you have a little bit more influence. But you can see on the Google Play Store, you can see the it's just 3 card slots for the qualifying. The 4th is no changes. But you see the cards. They also changed it so that everything feels like it's a model instead of how Motorsport Manager 2 had it, where it feels like you're watching an actual race. Just the aesthetic of it,
Right.
I realize that's a minor quibble, but it just felt. First time I loaded it up, I thought, "Oh wow, it's like Matchbox cars,"
Indeed. So
you can take one.
I don't. Okay. So mine is kind of a repeat of last week, except a lot less in depth on one of them in particular. So X4, I played X4 quite a bit more over the weekend, or since last week, and got into sort of some of the mid game and I think the beginnings of the end game simulation. The economy stuff is weird. What they used to do to help try and fix the economy is, one, they had sort of a director in the background that was watching to be like, okay, these stations are not being used, so I'm just going to take those out of the universe to help free up resources, processing and things like that. Resources that were being heavily traded, they would eventually sort of get wiped out, like not used up, they would just sort of disappear. That way the economy would keep running and things wouldn't stall out. And the first thing is completely gone in this one. The only way to get rid of stations is to destroy them. And then that second piece, that sort of deleting things in the background that aren't moving, it happens, but at a much, much lower rate. So even in the mid game, after letting the AI do a lot of trading and myself slowly starting to build up a fleet, have 2 very small space stations, I have completely wrecked the energy economy because energy has got no resource cost. There's the initial buy-in, like you have to build the station to get the solar panels running to collect energy cells, but there's no other resources that's required in their creation. So with essentially 4 solar panel modules between my 2 stations, I have wrecked the energy market for the entire discovered galaxy. And
way to go.
Energy trade has completely stopped, and every station is full to the max on energy that I have discovered, because I've got just little guys out there just selling energy to their heart's content off of my space station. And I can see this becoming a big cascading problem the longer the game goes on. The more resources you sort of fill up with, and eventually the economy halts. The one thing that they've tried to make a thing is, like, there's the X series has always had pretty much constant ongoing wars. There's a couple of alien factions that are very aggressive. There's a race of machines that are very aggressive, and they're always sort of grinding against each other. And the idea is that, like, you go in there and via missions for your faction or just kind of acting as a free agent, you also help grind down the universe full of ships and military equipment and space stations. And so that is how these resources are intended to be used up. But I'm not a big combat guy in these games. I never have been. I usually just create enough of a defensive fleet to protect the sector or 2 that I basically claim as my own. And then I just sit there and I like to play out the economy stuff. That's what's fun to me.
As in wreck it.
Well, yeah, but I want to wreck it on my own terms, not completely by accident. So with me not helping, even at this stage in the game, I finally got the time accelerator. So in game, I think it's been something like 80 hours. I haven't played it for that long, but I've got like 80 hours of in-game time on my game, and I've got a fleet of maybe 24 ships and my 2 space stations, and it's like there's already issues with the economy, and I'm not going out doing constant war. The only warring that I've done is to secure trade routes between sectors, because the way that, at least with the amount of galaxy I've discovered, there might be other ways, but there's sort of a couple of choke point systems that if they get taken over by either of the aggressive alien races or the machines, then that's no bueno. So I've been slowly fortifying those areas of space to keep them defended. But other than that, I'm not pursuing either of the main faction wars. I'm not participating against pirate factions in skirmishes against those. I'm actually on friendly terms with the pirates, because the pirates will buy anything. So any illegal or illicit good, obviously they're and will buy absolutely everything in the game. So they're a good place to make some quick cash to just dump stuff on. But they don't typically get traded to automatically because they're pirates. But this is definitely going to be an issue. I found a couple of mods to try and address it by bringing back some of the sort of natural destruction of resources that was present in previous games that tweak things like...
Why would you do that? You've discovered perpetual energy.
But things that adjust what certain resources cost to build, what ships cost to build, so that you can sink a lot more resources into fewer things overall to help, balance the economy out. So I haven't really had time to play with those things too much, but Yeah, even at this point, like the economy, just focusing on sort of the bottom rung, I've completely filled that up, and I can only go up from there. But there's no resource in the game that just gets destroyed. Everything eventually leads towards the production of stuff to make ships and weapons, and that's how they funneled the economy. But I don't do enough fighting to create enough destruction in the galaxy to make all of those things get used up.
Oh no, it sounds like you've been pretty destructive to me.
Well, destructive on the socioeconomic balance of the galaxy, but not in a physical sense. There's still tons of stuff, though, I haven't gotten to in this game. It is extremely deep and wide, and I'm just getting my first taste of like squad combat, having vessels that can carry other vessels. Not exactly a carrier, but most of the larger ships have got docking bays for one or two small craft, because you can fly your destroyer around, but it doesn't really, like, if you come to a small station, you can't dock at it. So it's good to have like a little ferry
With
type
that attitude
ship. I've been doing a lot of sort of exploring around. Like, there's a scanning mechanic to scan down stations, and you can get like information and hack them for bonuses, or you can steal station blueprints. I've been doing some of that, just checking it all out. But still, the big meat of the game is the economy simulation, and when not playing, I think, as they intended, it's got issues. But that's what mods are for. So,
bought it till bricks.
Yeah, so far it's fairly stable. I've had a couple of crashes, but no more or less than any other X game has ever had. Just remember to, hit that quick save frequently, just in case. It's always good to F5 for safety.
You just have a drinking bird there hitting it every so often.
Every time I do something important, I hit it just to be on the safe side. I've had 2 or 3 crashes the whole time.
This is an F5 event.
Pretty much. Anytime I issue a massive amount of orders to my fleet, or I complete like a mission that was worth a lot, or I just do something, I'm like, that was neat. I'd hate to have to try and do that again. Like the first time I fought and destroyed a Xenon battleship, I was like, okay, that took a very long time to do with small vessels that didn't have anti-capital ship weapons. I'm going to save. That was a lot of my life I'd hate to lose. So at some point, I'll be back to it again to discuss, but at this point, I'm in that sort of mid-stage area of the game, which can be very grindy for a lot of people, but I love these type of economy simulator type things, so I'm having a good time. Just a grand old time.
Speaking of a grand old time, ASTRONEER Co-op Edition. So I played a bit with Jim and, tried with Cube as well, but he had issues, got frustrated, and pretty much immediately quit. I'm not actually sure what happened there, but it is goes through the Xbox stuff, so shit gets weird, right?
Right.
But anyway, ASTRONEER Co-op. There's not a lot to talk about here, but I think there was enough to warrant this. Plus, did talk, did play with Jim, so I think he would have been a little biffed if I didn't mention it at the very least. So I was pretty much right for the most part on my feelings, or at least in my opinion, that it feels like ASTRONEER is built around at least having another person, if not hanging out around base. Then the constant return to base, be able to reset research, be able to build up a little bit quicker, collaboratively, of course, is, really shines with co-op. But it does, he still enjoys it solo. So, I think it's just, my personal taste, on the fact that, I prefer, having at least 1 or 2 people, particularly people that know what the hell is going on.
Right.
But it also kind of highlighted some issues. We had some serious desync issues. It seems to be just a persistent bug that if the game goes for too long connected, essentially it builds up an error that just increases over time. And I actually died several times and lost a fair amount of equipment. Stuff that could be replaced, but just frustration because I was standing and digging somewhat near me, and the game thought I was digging up from under myself. It's like, oh, well, that's a long way down. You fell to your death. But I'm on the ground. You fell to your death. You die now. And this seems to be a very persistent thing. Towards the end of a couple hour session, not PlayStation, I started having it happen more and more often between both of us, actually. But since he was the host, it was less of an issue for him, but he was seeing me just spaz out after a while. And it also makes a known bug in the game a lot worse. So as you build out, at least initially, before you get to sort of the mid-tier stage, you want to put down what's called tethers, which expands your life support network because your spacesuit, well, it's about as effective as a spacesuit on Mars with the antenna stuck through it. Right?
Right. Okay.
So if you get above a certain threshold on tethers, it starts to introduce lag into the game and more lag as you expand out. And because there's multiple people putting down tethers, you hit that limit a lot faster, which is a bit annoying. There are ways around it. I eventually had a rover that I went back and essentially cleaned up my tether network and just recycled them. But it's just kind of kicking the can down the road at that point because you're going to hit that again, and there was only so much that it could be done. Eventually, you could have it where the rover provides life support for a segregated tether network where they have oxygen and power that's fed into the tether or to a small group of tethers. But once again, we didn't have that many down. It's not like we had the entire place looking like a spider's web. We had a few branches off here and there, and we were already introducing the lag. Or at least it seemed to be making things far worse, which I found incredibly frustrating. And it was a little bit of a buzzkill for me because I was enjoying it up until that point. Just be able to let Jim do his thing in base and going out and exploring, bringing back interesting shit.
Yeah.
And we were about to launch onto another planet when, just the lag was just getting so bad that, I wasn't able to even interact. I was trying to drop tethers to go down a cave, and it started hitting me so bad that I wasn't able to even drop them. So, just a very, 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 very basic command I wasn't even able to do. So that should tell you something, huh?
Yeah. Did you try going back and playing it again solo with your sort of newfound knowledge and see if that made
I haven't
difference?
tried it just yet. I intend to at some point. Maybe that's something that we could do on a Sunday sometime when we're tired of Forza, right?
Yeah, I suppose that'll happen eventually.
Yeah, we can't go vroom all the time, right?
There's a lot of stuff to go vroom over, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even though we do have someone chasing us now.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
We have the Spiky to our bandits.
Indeed.
Yeah, but the fun part is that he has to go break the law in order to get the siren. Otherwise, he's just hanging out of the car window going, wee-woo, wee-woo.
Ghost could do that.
Yeah, but at that speed, that would potentially just rip you out of the car, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Hope you don't hit a bug.
Yeah, a beetle doing 200 relative speed, that has to do some damage, huh?
Yeah.
Or just be a good, high protein meal.
Ew. I'll pass on that. Actually, all these cars supposedly have 5-point harnesses, so you'd be all right. You wouldn't get sucked out of the car.
Yeah, but wouldn't you have to undo it to be able to hang out the car window?
Well, don't just use 3 of the 5 points.
So, in other words, the No Man's Sky launch. 3 out of 5.
Yeah. That's not bad.
Not good enough, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything else, really. I mean, it was just, just kind of mentioning it. It was a shame that we didn't have Cube because I think, for at least in uh, my perspective, three people were running somewhat close to base, managing things and building up the base, and two people bringing back research and bringing back supplies, resources would have been ideal. But also, it kind of confirmed what I thought, that I got just an atrocious start. Either that or I just overlooked, the nearby resources, because resources on our shared game was a lot closer and a lot more plentiful. Yeah, that's the danger of procedural generation, huh?
Yeah, I wonder if it weights things differently based on how many people you start with.
Potentially, but the fact that I had no composite at all was strange, even by Jim's recollection. So it's possible that I just overlooked it. It was like in a little cranny somewhere, which is possible. There was a couple times that the only indication that there was resources was like a very, very tip of one resource node poking up out of the dirt. But also had some interesting geological features. Had essentially a natural tunnel boring through the mountain, which was pretty much a perfect, like, very gentle sloping right turn. But it looked like a player made it that it was that perfect. Either that or a giant worm. Oh, and I did get lost once. So that was fun.
Yeah, that happens. I've gotten lost more than once.
Well, I got lost with the rover. So, I wasn't in danger of suffocating, just, trying to figure out, location and waiting for the rover to recharge. Because I pilfered I think I had a generator on me. So, just, quickly dig up something to be able to feed the generator, recharge, and go a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really should play it some more. We were about to blast off, but I don't have the save file. Not sure if there's really anything else to talk about on it, though. It introduced its own issues, and it seems like the planet eating things is a known bug that's just possibly never going to get fixed. They are still actively working on the game, but core issues like that may just be beyond what they're able to fix somewhat easily while keeping up the roadmap of content.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I don't think so. I mean, since I've played ASTRONEER, I'm fairly familiar with it. So, no questions.
Well, how about more Vroom?
Indeed. So,
yeah, this one's my fault.
Again.
Yeah, hey, we're back to the Forza Game Club for the 7th week running.
It's been a few. I dipped my toes into the multiplayer racing, both ranked and unranked matchmaking. You and I
drug you along.
Yeah. And I echo many of the sentiments that you had about ranked. And there's an additional problem in trying to join ranked with more than one person.
Yeah,
so wait times are atrocious, and you can get dropped. It'll sit there oftentimes at 11 of 12. You never have all 12 people to start a ranked match. And if you're trying to join up with another person, there's some kind of issue with it. And I couldn't quite find an explanation for what the problem was.
Yeah, it just sounds like whenever you're joining as a convoy and you're essentially upping for the first one, but you never get a prompt to try again, because that's the thing, is that it's automatic for the convoy leader just to, okay, we'll try it again. But it seems like there's some sort of prompt whenever you're joining the convoy's queue.
Yeah, if you're not the convoy leader, you have to accept to join the queue, and then every time a game pops up, you have to accept that you want to join in on that race. And I kind of understand that, because it's like, okay, like if the convoy leader wants to go do something and other people don't want to, they're just like working on some skill stuff, or need to take some time to work on a car. You don't have to split up the convoy. Just the leader and anyone that wants to go can, and anyone else can stay behind. But if you don't get it on that first one, the convoy members are never prompted again to accept. So we had this a couple of times before we figured it out, that we would go to join. I wouldn't get, the first one would not complete, it wouldn't fill up. So it would reset the matchmaking, and then you would get in and I would not. And I would get like an error that said like the room was full and we couldn't figure out what was going on.
Yeah, it sounds like essentially whenever you're going for or going in, when the matchmaking starts up, it essentially puts us in as 2 instead of 1. But since you don't get the second thing, it's putting me in the room, and then later on, you get put in as, hey, there's a room starting up. Oh, no, it's already full. Never mind.
Yeah. But I like the variety that comes with the online racing, because basically it just says, hey, here are a couple of things: S-class off-road cars, or just A-class cars, period. And then you get to choose what car you want that fits within that rule set. So there's a huge variety. If it's an off-road event, you'll get some people who go for more rally car type setups, and people who come in big off-road trucks, and some people who come in like the extreme off-road things, like Baja trucks.
You were thinking liking the strategic choices as well.
What do you mean?
There was a couple times that you were talking about, I should have brought in this car because this race favors this over this.
Oh, yeah. So being familiar with the races helps, because it shows you, this event has 3 races, and it's these 2 tracks and this sprint. And then you can kind of get a quick glance at what they look like. And it's like, okay, so these are short tracks. I should probably pick a car that has this type of handling characteristic, or that focuses more on acceleration than top speed, or something like that. And you're trying to pick the best car that you have that fits, the most races as possible. And there were a couple times where I got it right, and it was just like amazing how well I did. And there were a couple times I got it wrong, and then I was farther back in the pack, just because I had either the completely right or the completely wrong setup for an event type. But I like that, and that aspect is present in both ranked and unranked. With unranked, you can just it'll
stay in the room.
Yeah, you can stay in the room, and it'll just cycle between different events. And it doesn't matter how many people are there. It just tries to split the teams as evenly as possible.
Also, it seemed like the people in unranked were a lot more chill.
Yes. Oh my God. People are assholes in ranked mode. Both your own team and the other team. There are so many times.
Well, mind you, we did team-based racing. There is a free-for-all race mode as well.
Yeah.
But people acted like it half the time it was all free-for-all racing.
Yeah. One, people don't seem to understand the concept of team racing. Like, you don't have to be in first place. It doesn't matter what place you come in, just as long as generally
second first loser, man.
Yeah, just generally as long as your team does better than the other team. So you and I, when we'll do racing, against the computer, or in any mode, like if we're like 1 and 2, typically, I mean, I'm a better driver than you, so typically in most situations, unless I've got the wrong car or you've got the perfect car or whatever, I could drive hard and get around you and win most of the races. But there's no point in doing that, because we're on a team, and you're first and I'm second.
There's also a chance that you may hit me or screw me up.
Yeah, if I fuck up or something, then it could cost both of us our positions. It's just not worth it. Like, that's good team racing. You support your teammate. But no one online seems to understand this, and everyone always just tries to pass all the time. So teammates will ram you trying to get around you in a corner.
Which I understand the opposing team doing that.
Yeah, it sucks, but I get the opposing team doing it. But your own team, and sure, it's an accident sometimes, but lots of times it's like, okay, you just used me to Gran Turismo around that corner faster.
I love that you're using my term now.
Yeah, or to sort of block, because if you slam into the wall, like if you give it a little tap or a side swipe, you're okay. But if you hit the wall hard, it will give you a penalty and make you drive slower for like 5 seconds.
Well,
And so,
it's dependent on how hard you hit it.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
if you hit it just enough to trigger it, it'll just kind of flash for a moment, and it's not really a deal. If you just slam into the wall, you're getting the full 5 seconds.
okay. But teammates will ram into you and use you to block them from getting the slowdown penalty and things like that, and that's really annoying. And then the amount of times that I was purposefully rammed off the road by opposing team members or by the opposite team, like that really bugs me. Like I get it, it's a video game, but it's also like racing, and I like to race as clean and skillfully as possible. And it's like you'll have people bring like trucks into car road racing events, and they'll spend the entire time blocking and trying to ram people off the road. And I'm just like, I get it, but fuck you. And it made me angry on
I mean, I didn't
more
really
than one occasion.
people, but I did, kind of block. So I blocked that one guy completely off the road, and he missed a checkpoint. But that's not me
Yeah,
ramming him. That's me
but
closing the racing line.
yeah, I was gonna say there's a difference in blocking the racing line though, and purposefully ramming someone off the track. And I had it happen on multiple occasions. Be neck and neck with someone coming into like a bridge or into a tight section where there was something, a wall or something that wouldn't be destructible, so you wouldn't just go through it. And at the last second would get rammed into the thing by the other person. And I'm sure sometimes it was an accident, but like I'm watching like deliberately people would, swerve left and then right and smash into me and crash me into the wall or the house.
It's
or
hilarious
whatever.
whenever they hit you too hard and it has the high speed collision go off.
Yeah. That's fun. So there's the high speed collision. So if you're at the beginning of the race, and then if the game detects there's going to be a high speed collision, it will ghost one or both players so they don't crash into each other. And a few times they would get a little too excited with that, and I would ghost or they would ghost and go straight through and wreck themselves, and I would be fine. That always made me happy.
Yeah, I wonder if just the beginning of the month is also a terrible time because the ranked mode is also tied into the Forzathon month-long year thing, where it cycles through all the seasons, and it's the beginning of the year is tied to the beginning of the month. So right now it's the summer racing, and it's tied, and everybody's trying to re-rank in order to get the extra percentage points to be able to get all the the fun cars. Part of me wonders if it's just that as well.
Maybe I'm gonna do some of the single player ranked this week before, if we play again on Friday, we'll do whatever then. We typically do the season stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be autumn this time, so we typically do the whatever the seasonal thing is. But
hey, we got the tractor trailer coming up.
Yeah, that'll be fun. But the the ranked racing is I'm gonna do just enough to get my ranking. And then if we do that more, the unranked is where it's at.
Yeah, it feels like it's a lot more chill. There are people that go a little bit more hardcore, but typically how it happens is after the full event goes through, it will a good chunk of the people will drop out. So the first race of the new event would be half teams or quarter teams. Then by the end of the next race or the end of that race, it'll fill up again. So you have full teams again. And there was definitely a mood shift. I don't think it was really even just bad drivers. I think maybe it's just the fact that that MMR is kind of dangling over their head. And it also just seemed to be one of the better ways to get credits in the game.
Ranked racing?
Unranked.
Or unranked, yeah.
Because ranked, you were in the queue for far too long. There was a couple times we were in it for 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound like a lot. Oh, just a 5-minute wait. But in order to do the initial, in order to do the initial ranking, you have to do 10 unranked races. Once you get ranked once, I think you're okay, and you just have to do one. Then the pain is over. But you only get the bottom tier rewards, which are still pretty damn good, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. But completing one of those, what do they call them? Race adventures? co-op adventures, whatever.
Online adventures.
Online adventures, completing one of those, which is just a race series, depending on how, what it is the events are, anywhere from like 20 to 40,000 credits, maybe more depending on your difficulty settings. Because I don't know what your difficulty boost is, but mine is 55%.
I think mine was sitting at like 40, so I was getting like 30,000 on average.
Yeah. I had a couple that were smaller, but most of them were in the 35,000 range.
Which is pretty damn good, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you do basically 3 or 5 races in pretty quick succession, and then you get that payout.
Well, remember, it's also based on just if your team has cinched it, the event's over.
Yeah, that's true. You could win in 2. So, I mean, race events are either 3 or 5. So you could win in 2 or 3 if you win all of the events up front. But I mean, regardless, it's still a blast.
And they also seem to throw a fairly decent assortment between the road racing and the rally. So you start to get interesting ones like the free roam rush, which starts to see some of the really stranger cars start to really get some more traction. The dune buggies and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Because in those, it's, so free roam rush, you just have to get from point A to point B in the fastest way possible. And most people, go off-road and do a bit of pathfinding. Sometimes it works out for you. Sometimes it doesn't.
I also found it was a lot more luck-based. There was sometimes that I just had one bad bounce that took me out of contention, but there was other times that I did amazingly well.
Yeah, on all of those except for one, I either got first or didn't finish. There was one that was pretty straightforward, and my car was a little too slow, so I wound up getting like 4th on it, I think. But yeah, it's good. It's good fun. I definitely will be. I'll go through and do the ranked just to get my seasonal completion percentage or whatever. And then we'll probably do unranked races some whenever I just want to race real quick. I mean, racing against the Drivatars is fun and fine and dandy, especially.
Yeah, it's also a lot more fun to cuss someone whenever you know that there's another person there.
Yeah, but if I just want to do races in like rapid succession, I'll probably jump a lot more willingly into the online adventures. Plus, there's the drift one that I want to check out.
Yeah, I was going to say drift is probably going to be your thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm good, but I'm sure that there are many people out there that are way better than me.
Hear what happens to you in drift. Now, I want to hear that next week. I don't want to be brought along for the adventure, but
yeah. Is it in the ranked or is it unranked or is it both?
Yes.
Okay, sweet.
Both. Actually, I wonder if that would be better for ranked mode for you.
Don't know. Maybe.
Because there's the drift. Actually, I'm not sure if that's ranked. I do know that there's playground games as well that's online.
Yeah.
I had bad experience with playground games. Unless there's something amazing for the Forza-thon, I'm just not going to bother. Because every single time I got an unbalanced team in not my favor. Yeah.
Well, you have to win, though, for the Forza seasonal challenge. I like the playground games, but
I like the playground games concept, but because you have to win,
people will drop out for the Forza
drop out so quickly. If you're at even the slightest disadvantage, people just go, "Okay, that's enough. I'll agree to matchmaking." Yeah, which is so frustrating. That's a frustrating thing in online in general, let alone this. I never understood the whole concept of, like in Rocket League, down one goal and people drop out.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a psychological answer to this, and I'm waiting.
Well, I mean, probably, but my brain is too foggy right now to tell you.
Honestly. How about that? Just people are dicks.
There's just this thing, like if people aren't winning, they'll quit because they don't feel like, they don't want to waste their time. They don't want to feel like
they're losing. Losers.
Yeah. But I'll finish stuff whether or not I'm going to win or lose.
Speaking of losers,
Yeah, that's an excellent segue to get us on to our first news topic of the night. Developers petition G2A to take down indie games as controversy erupts again.
Yeah, it's been a while since we had Commandment 1 come up, huh?
Commandment 1 is thou shalt not pre-order.
Oh, sorry, yeah, what was it, Commandment 2? Or I know it's one of the early ones.
Yeah.
Then scroll down. Or where are they on here?
I don't know. They're on here somewhere.
Where's the stone tablets?
Let me go get them out of my closet.
Oh, what? You're coming out of the closet now?
It's number 2. Thou shalt not buy from gray market sites.
Oh, like G2A. How about that? So, late last week, there was a petition going around from some indie developers. They actually mentioned which ones. From the co-founder of the indie publisher No More Robots, talking about some of the Google ads for G2A and talking about also, if you want to buy from G2A, just pirate your game because it actually hurts us. Or we get hit with too many chargebacks. We get charged for those. Just pirate the game. And G2A and these indie developers have been trading blows back and forth for the weekend. And yeah, G2A has made themselves look like kind of dicks.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have some interesting points at times, but then, they have to, continue talking, right? Like, one of the articles is talking about how it's a good thing people go resell keys. Well, it's not really reselling keys. It's more selling used key, or not used keys, but your spare keys. But honestly, the people that have those that aren't, credit card scammers, are people that are buying from like Humble Bundle. That's a charity thing. So you're getting people scamming off charity for that, which makes you kind of scummy, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I don't like G2A.
Really?
And,
I wouldn't have guessed.
And Kingwin and other sites that do stuff like this for all of the reasons just said. But I
understand people wanting to have a place to be able to trade keys, because you may get a game bundle that you don't you only want one thing out of it, and you don't really have anyone that wants the spare keys. I could understand that, but G2A just, they provide no protections and they actively hurt the industry.
Yeah.
But what is hilarious,
they dug this hole even further.
Yeah, there's been a few things. We're kind of glossing over a few of them, but the big one, outside of the petition that had over 800 signatures from different developers, was that they started contacting indie sites. I should say G2A started contacting indie sites, these little small ones that personally I never heard of. And they were offering an article. You're thinking, oh yeah, they're offering an interview. No, they're not offering an interview. They're offering a pre-made, pre-written, what was the term that they were using? Scroll.
Yeah, I'm looking for it too.
Let's see. An article that is transparent and just review of the problem of the stolen key reselling. And mind you, they say a transparent and just review immediately after talking about, oh yeah, and don't credit us. Don't make it. Don't mark this as a sponsored piece. So this will be just between us. And there's this like, are they really doing this? And not only has G2A confirmed it that this happened, but they dug even deeper, saying that 9 different sites were contacted. But the rogue employee was being punished, because of course, it was a rogue employee and totally not someone just in the company, doing this, on the up and up for their company.
Yeah, so they sent it to 10 different sites, and one person, and listed here in the article, his name's Thomas Faust, an
But
indie
not
game
that one, according to
journalist.
said Alpha.
But yeah, he posted on Twitter what they sent him, screenshots of what they sent him. And then G2A comes back and says, oh yeah, and also we sent it to other people, but we don't actually want you to use it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. How about a quick reading of the email, because this is hilarious.
Okay.
My name is Adrian. I represent a global digital marketplace called G2A.com. Our company is one of the biggest and most popular trading platforms in the world. Pause for laughter. It is a place where buyers and sellers of games and other digital and physical goods meet to make transactions. Yeah, in back alleys, right? I'm contacting you because I think your website matches our interests perfectly. Boy, I feel sorry for this guy telling you. And we would like to find out more about publishing and advertising opportunities that you can offer. At the moment, we're trying to improve our brand awareness and public image. Sorry, that's bolded, so I have to, use the big voice. Especially among indie and smaller game developers. Unfortunately, the majority of the public does not understand either our business model or how we try to make our customers can safely purchase games or digital products. Once again, bolded. We want to make sure that people understand we do everything we can to support gaming community and introduce every possible method to ensure every side is satisfied. Sorry, the email is a little bit right. I'm reading it word for word. I'm not, but yeah.
Yeah.
Continuing on, this is the second paragraph, and this was all that was really shown in the Sid Alpha video. I should have grabbed that as well.
I'm looking at least the tweets. That's the only thing that's on though. There's
there wasn't much more beyond this. We have written an unbiased article of how selling stolen keys on gaming marketplaces is pretty much impossible. And we want to publish it on your website without being marked as sponsored or marked as associated with G2A. This is a transparent and just review of the problem of stolen keys. I mean, what the fuck, right?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, the following sentence, it's a transparent, but don't mark us.
Don't market us that we sent you this, but it's transparent and open and honest.
Below, I attach an excerpt of the article. If you want the full article, just let me know. Oh. Unfortunately, and also, if you're interested in publishing the article, please provide me with the pricing and details of your options and such for such publication. I mean, just wow, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
What I suspect happened here is they thought we will go to these tiny websites who, even though they know, they probably know that this is all bullshit, us paying to put an article on their site and potential publicity they could gain from that would be worth it to them to actually go along with this. And then this guy,
but eventually you hit somebody that has some morals.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the gaming journalism rounds, you eventually hit someone, right? But also, part of me wonders if they were hoping for the megaphone effect, where one of the tiny sites starts publishing an article and it just goes viral, and then it eventually ends up on the bigger publications.
Yeah, well, that's what I was getting to, was like, I bet they did that. They picked these small sites that, feel like they would benefit from it greatly, and then hope that a larger site or publication takes notice of it and parrots it as well. But it went the opposite direction, and now everybody's talking about how shitty they are, which we all knew that, but having evidence for this sort of stuff pop up every once in a while is a good reminder.
Do you think there was a typo when they were talking about rogue employee and it was really Rouge and it's Adrian Red or something?
Headcanon. That's not what I believe happened. Previously, no, I would have not agreed with that. But yeah, no, that's headcanon now. That's what actually happened.
Yeah, you're sleepy enough to accept that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just. Oh. Here's the response, by the way. These emails were sent out by an employee without authorization, for which we apologize to Some Indie Games. That's the publication that Thomas Faust writes for. And the 9 other media outlets that he sent this proposal to, because I think they knew that it was going to eventually come out, but he will face strict consequences, as this is absolutely unacceptable of getting caught. Oh, sorry, I added the last bit, but yeah, that's what they're thinking, right?
Yeah.
But getting back around to the crux of the matter, I mean, they were trying to defend having indie games by saying, well, only 8% of our model or our sales are indie games. Everything else is the big ticket item. So, it doesn't matter if we're selling them. Well, yeah, but if it doesn't matter, then why, right?
Yeah. No, that doesn't. I mean, this whole thing is full of inconsistencies, to say the least.
Yeah, talking about one of these articles was talking about how one game was essentially being supported or supplied by one guy with a bunch of stolen credit cards, and everything was Steam gifts. It wasn't just like spare keys or something.
Yeah.
Pretty much, if you buy from G2A instead, go get Game Pass, right?
Yes. Sorry, I was adjusting. I'm muting my mic so you didn't hear the banging noises.
Oh,
but
my.
yeah, go get Game Pass, or just go light $5 on fire, because you'll hurt less people that way.
I mean, G2A actually charges you if you have an account with them and funds in your G2A wallet.
Yep. And if you want
if you're inactive.
Yeah, and if you pretend, even if you pretend that you want to have some kind of protection, you have to pay for that facade of protection.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of different just albums of what you have to go through in order to turn off that protection, in massive sarcasm quotes. It's something like 15 or 20 different pages, and some of them are like very small text of, yes, I'm sure, yes, I'm really sure, please turn this off. I mean, it's almost a parody, but it's real, right?
Yep. Reality is stranger than fiction.
Insert political joke here.
Yeah.
I mean,
so fuck you, G2A. Almost as much as fuck you, EA.
Yeah, almost, but not quite.
Yeah.
It's like trying to pick out of the smeller between two giant piles of shit.
Yeah.
It all depends on which way the wind is blowing.
I just got a mental image of that scene from Jurassic Park with Ian Malcolm. That's one big pile of shit. So
since I mentioned Game Pass,
I was about to say, moving on to our next topic, which involves Game Pass. Xbox Game Pass is the first time subscriptions as fair for developers, at least according to this article.
Well, actually, it's a couple articles.
I only saw the one. I saw one. I pulled both links.
What developers
I only saw one of them.
Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
Essentially, it comes down to payment plans.
Yeah.
What I was able to tell in this was that it's really the difference between what some people who was it in here that was talking about the difference between Spotify and Netflix.
Yeah, I think it was one of the developers that was
and I just didn't catch the name. But anyway, the difference is fixed fee versus pay for play. The Spotify model is what people don't associate with a lot of the game subscription models, but is what actually happens behind the scenes, is that you get a bonus for being popular, bringing in more subscribers. So to use the Game Pass, if they were using this model and everybody's flocking through to Forza, Gears of War, that sort of thing, everybody else would be getting less money because of it. But what they're actually doing is the Netflix model, where it's a fixed fee that you're paid. And then it doesn't matter how popular you are, you get that fixed amount of money. And for a very popular game, that sounds a little bit of a raw deal. But I think for the long run, it's actually going to pay out for them. Because if you're a game that is a little bit more experimental, or going into a genre that doesn't get as much attention these days, if you make let's pick one almost at random, a giant stopping mech game, and go on Game Pass. That's not a very popular genre these days. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah. Well, I love giant stompy mech games. I recognize that they are for a niche audience.
But it's a guaranteed amount of money that you could sink into your next project. You don't have to worry about sales, and that's what the developers are talking about. Where it's what it gets them, what it's doing for their popularity. They're essentially sort of marketing. I'm not sure the particular term to use for that.
Yeah.
Because it's not grassroots, obviously, but
yeah, but that sort of exposure.
Some associative marketing where people join in for those big titles, but then yet they see like My Time at Portia. Oh, that's more of a niche title. It may not be for everyone, but someone may be, I didn't know this genre existed.
Yeah, or Void Bastards, or
Year Zero.
Yeah.
Opus Magnum would be also a really good one.
And I'd say that's how it would, thinking about the way that I approach Game Pass, I've gravitated towards Forza, but if it wasn't for that, I probably would be playing all of these smaller games, because that's, tends to be what would attract me to a service like Game Pass. Try out games that I wouldn't normally buy, but I'm the exception, not the rule, because I've got, between all of my libraries, over 1,000 games.
Oh, sweet summer child.
Steam being the largest, whatever. Steam being the largest of those libraries, but most people don't have that, so they would say, this service offers me, in this case, Gears of War 4, and when it comes out 5, and on the Xbox you have access right now to Halo 5, and access to Crackdown. That's across both, but all these big AAA sort of titles that you're interested in, and then you'd see the little indie games, be like, oh, that's neat, check that out. And then maybe if you like it enough, you could buy it. Like, yes, it's on the Game Pass, but it might not be on the Game Pass for forever. And also, you might not have Game Pass forever.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, they're actually comparing this a lot to OnLive, which is not quite apples to apples here, because OnLive was a streaming service. But they were talking about how OnLive worked in the favor of like Paradox games, where it was based on hours played. So a Paradox game would do a lot better on there, just because Paradox games draw in a ton amount of time.
Yeah.
But Paradox also has a large enough library that they could experiment a little bit with their catalog. But what you need to consider, according to hang on, who is this? I'm grabbing a quote in the middle of this. Now, that's the problem with this. Let's see, it's Webster. He is the ex-CEO of Paradox. What you need to consider now, when people throw money at you, is 3 years from now, where the pendulum has swung back, and all of a sudden you're standing there knocking on Microsoft's door saying, please let us in again, which is going to happen eventually. We all know that, hopefully, is your business model sustainable. But has it been the whole time? Do you have direct access to the people that's playing your game? So he's talking about not blocking off a potential avenue, which I understand could also be referencing other services like a certain game store that's being shit. That doesn't mean it has to be shit forever. Just people behind it, right?
Indeed. Fuck that game store.
Those are the only two things that you should think about, because if you sell yourself now with a business model that you don't even believe in, just because you could get $10 million in cash, I don't think you're going to have a good time in 3 years, because these times are not going to come back. I'm sounding Dr. Doom here. I'm a paranoid man.
Yeah, I think Microsoft as well is probably uniquely in the position to pull this off in the right way.
I would say that they're one of the few that's able to do it, that they have enough bank behind it. I would say Valve would probably be able to do it as well.
Yeah, but Valve doesn't seem to be interested in doing anything.
Well, they're making a mobile game. Doesn't that count?
No. But I mean, Microsoft has got access to a huge library, not only their own first-party published titles, but all of these sort of second-party titles from all of the development studios they've been buying, plus they're fucking Microsoft, so they've got enough clout to throw around. Money. Yeah, enough clout, enough rep, some sick rep, and also the cash to make it happen with other developers. I mean, so, some of the other studios that I could see trying this would be like your EAs and potentially your Ubisofts and, the ones that already have their own sort of separated launchers.
Or working on it, because Ubisoft announced it at E3 at probably the worst possible time. For another, outside of beta, another 50% more.
Yeah, or they've already got their subscription programs. I mean, EA's got their subscription program already. So, maybe that's a bad example. But, these companies...
if Blizzard had more games behind it, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, these companies, some of them have some pretty big libraries. Like EA has got a pretty big library, but you look at it compared to Microsoft's library or Microsoft's potential library, and it's like, well, let's pack it up, boys. We can't compete. Let's go home, so. But
that's money on the table. Yeah, some cost, right?
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, they're not, I'm not saying they're going to abandon the market because Microsoft stepped in, but Microsoft is in the best place to do so. And I'm glad to see that they're doing it well.
Yeah, there's still some issues I have with the launcher, but overall, I think it's done fairly well. And it looks like the developers are getting on board.
Yeah. I'm excited.
It's nice to see something that's good for both the consumer and the developer for once.
Yeah, those things don't usually happen very often. But
yeah, and the fact that Microsoft is also kind of undercutting their costs, or their income, I should say, during the beta period, getting a bigger install base is interesting.
I mean, it makes sense though. Like you get people in, and then once they're hooked, you keep them, and they're willing to pay more for it. Also, there's always the possibility that I'm sure they're hoping for this, that people will sign up for the service and then forget about it. So Microsoft is getting the money, but not having to deal with that person, interacting on their platform and their system, costing them anything at all.
Mm.
So I've kind of always thought that was what Game Pass was about anyways. It's just an extra way to generate that type of revenue. Because a lot of people, I remember when it was first announced 2 years ago or something like that, people were like, this won't be sustainable. How will this work? They're going to have to charge crazy amounts of money. And it's like, no, Microsoft can eat it as a loss leader. And also, that what they're hoping is they get people signed up for these subscriptions that don't actually utilize the service.
Yeah, wasn't there an article not long ago talking about people don't even know how many subscriptions they have, let alone how much they pay for everything?
Probably. I didn't see it, but I wouldn't doubt it. I listened to I can't remember if it was an interview or a TED Talk with the guy who created MoviePass. And he was, he talks about that concept when you have subscription services. It's like you offer something that's of ridiculous good value, because the idea is you want most people to not actually utilize the service. So they both support and provide the profit for the small percentage portion of people who do utilize the service to its fullest potential. And like the issue with Movie Pass is that it was such a good fucking deal that everybody utilized it. They had something like, I think they said like an 80% utilization rate, whereas they want it to be the opposite. They want like a 20% utilization rate.
Okay, here it is. That's how I found it. Survey: 84% of Americans unaware of how much they spend on subscription services.
Yeah. I mean, technically, I fall into that category. I don't know how much we spend on that stuff
Not
every month, but...
Not to the cent, but I just have Netflix and now Game Pass.
Yeah, I mean, we know everything that we have subscriptions to. Like, Katie and I do a budget every month, and we look at that stuff. And so it's like, I don't know the values for what we're subscribed to, but we don't have anything that we're subscribed to that we're not using.
This is interesting. They also have a breakdown of the average prices. I guess technically Amazon Prime would be considered that, even though I pay on a year. Same with Amazon Music.
Yeah, I mean, it's cheaper to pay for it by the year overall, but you can pay for it monthly.
Mobile phone service, $100, with 79% saying that they have it. Wi-Fi at home, $50, with 78%. What's the rarest? Wireless apps, 3%, $10. Children's subscription boxes, fashion subscription box. Like the monthly random boxes.
Yeah, Loot Crate and shit like that.
Book services, cloud storage, gaming services, 17%. Average, most common, $20. So, hey, I would be well under even at full price on Microsoft.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we don't pay for things like, accessing servers or anything.
Yeah. Fuck you and your need for Xbox Live.
Poor Ghost.
Ghost doesn't need Xbox Live. That is the M251 who couldn't play with us because he didn't have Xbox Live.
All right. I know we had someone, but for some reason, it was while we were playing with Ghost.
Yeah, he was chatting with us on Discord, like literally chatting. He didn't have a headset.
By us, we mean you, because I wasn't watching Discord at the time.
I mean, I wasn't watching it super well, but I had it pulled up on my second monitor. But anyways, yeah. So I'm glad to see this.
Beauty subscription boxes are actually the most popular out of all the random subscription boxes.
Like what subscription boxes?
Beauty.
Oh.
That's not what I would have picked.
I would have. Between makeup and clothes and...
No, fashion is considered something separate on here.
Oh, well then what would fall under beauty then? I guess just
I'm guessing just makeup.
That's a huge fucking industry.
True.
It makes sense to me.
Average $20 a month. So
also, we don't really fall into the demographic of your average makeup user. I mean,
true.
That's just not something that I do regularly. Like between the two of us, I would be the one who would use makeup, and sometimes I do, but not regularly. So I would never subscribe to it.
Yeah, there's the saying "lipstick on a pig" for me.
But you'd give a good big old red smooch.
Yeah, actually, I'm surprised food isn't bigger on here. They actually don't list food subscription boxes. I mean, they have meal services, but I'm talking about like the snack boxes. Unless that would be also under meal services, which, damn, $40 a month on average.
Those are expensive. We've tried a couple of them, like Blue Plate and the ones similar to that.
I like to cook.
Yeah, I mean, we tried them, and it was like, I was like, the math on this is terrible, right? Like, if you're doing this to try and save anything other than time, the math on it's terrible. And I sat down and I did the math with Katie, and she's like, oh my God. Yeah, this is stupid.
It's basically just mods in place, and that's it, right?
Yeah. But, yeah, and then we've had, I forget what one of the snack ones are. Snacks are always good. But then it's like, why am I paying $20 for like 5 bags of snacks? I could take $20. Because, like, I mean, they're not really healthy. Like, they say they're healthy, but they're not. They're just not. If you're eating, crackers and stuff covered in, like, barbecue sauce flavoring and, you get, like, the bag full of Fig Newtons, it's like, those aren't really healthy. So I'll just spend my $20 and get...
What I would say would be, like, the international snacks. The ones that are a pain in the ass to find.
Oh yeah, those are
Those
fun
snack
boxes.
boxes. I mean, even going to like the Asian market, I've gone to like the last 3 months. They don't have a ton there. They have some, and it's fun to go through it. But honestly, most of the time, I just get some of the good ramen there, and that's about it. Mostly because I would have to carry anything for most of the day because it's like my first stop. But just limited availability. While some sort of random foreign snack box has a lot more variety in it, or potential, I should say. Sometimes they throw some weird shit in.
Yeah.
So that's where I would see a potential value. That you can't just go down to the corner store and get them.
Indeed, my friend.
Plus, the good ramen. You know how you know it's the good ramen? When you
It
open
doesn't
up,
say
it
top
has
ramen on it.
no, it has the second flavor packet.
Nice. So fancy.
Hey, whenever they have a thing of sesame oil in it, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I always have a good time with sesame oil.
Oh, my.
Speaking of other things that we tend to have a good time with, Zachtronics makes their entire library free to schools in Zachademics Program.
Which I love the name of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect. If they had used anything else, it would have been like, why didn't you guys say Zachademics? So,
or we wouldn't have been clever enough to think of it.
That's possible too.
So yeah. Zachtronics is, I wouldn't say my favorite developer, but they're on the list of the developers I actually really like that I don't have any problem with.
Yeah,
it's a short list. Actually, I'd have to sit down and really try to think of some others sometime. I guess Bay 9 Studios.
Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry. So looking through this program, I have several.
Oh, sorry, Bay 12. I had the wrong number. Dwarf Fortress.
Gotcha. So looking through this, I have several Zachtronics titles, but I'm thinking about applying just to see what happens, just because I use games at the clinic when I work with kids a lot. Different context, but who knows what I might be able to figure out with this stuff. And the worst they can do is tell me no.
Yeah, so a lot of Zachtronics games, they have a secondary thing that you could use where Opus Magnum, it teaches programming and logic. Infinite Factory, once again, logic, but in a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know Extrapunks offhand. It's one I haven't played.
Which game? Say it again.
Extrapunks. It's the third one on the list. They actually don't have other games on here. They don't have Space Chem.
That's interesting. Maybe they feel like it was too hard for kids to learn.
Yeah, it is. It is a devilishly hard game. It's one of those games that the demo mode basically is right up against the wall, and then the difficulty spikes. Where it's essentially the basic idea of Opus Magnum, only spread out a lot more. So maybe they felt it would be redundant.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know TIS 100. I know it's a programming puzzle game, but I don't know it offhand. But they rated a 4 out of 5. They rate Opus Magnum a 2 out of 5, and that thing gets devilish at times. And I'm just barely in it.
Yeah.
It also depicts alchemy, which is essentially made up chemistry and may offend science teachers.
That's potentially true. The teachers will probably just be happy to have new stuff instead of using the same 50-year-old lesson plan.
Yeah. The one that was barely updated from geocentrism.
Yeah. I don't really know how much more there is to talk about it. Like, it's a really cool move. I think it's awesome. I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, anything that supports education in, well, anywhere really. because that's kind of been put on the back burner for at least in the United States, which is honestly a little scary, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Very scary.
Yeah, they don't actually say it's limited to the U.S., do they? They just say it's out there.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's limited. I didn't see anywhere that it was.
Yeah, I do like they say that there are no demos for our games, which is not entirely true because Space Game does have a demo. So your options for evaluation are either buy the game on Steam or another distribution platform, play it on your own computer, or to apply for a license, guessing which games would be the most appropriate in learning afterwards. Either way, feel free to ask for as many licenses as you need and as for many games as you could use. Our aim is to provide as much value to our target institutions as possible. I mean, it's hard to really say anything negative about this, right?
Yeah. So, 2 thumbs up. Good job, guys. You did it. You can do a lot with a blender, though.
Oh, you know what else you could do a lot of? Or do a lot with? Netflix.
You can do a lot with Netflix. Thank you for calling Netflix your greenlit. So yeah, our final news topic of the night is Cuphead is getting a Netflix series.
Yeah, I guess they're a little late to get on the bandwagon, so they get their own little topic here. What's interesting is the type of show that they're making. Yeah, some sort of reality-based game show. No, I'm joking. It's hand-drawn animation.
If it was a reality-based game show that was just Cuphead themed, I think I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, people sell their souls to the devil, and then they had to fight a bunch of bosses to get it back. Pretty sure the Japanese did that before.
The Japanese have done that a lot of times before.
I mean, hell, the Japanese have some weird game shows. Awesome game shows, but weird.
Yes.
Probably the one that jumps out to me, not even Most Extreme Elimination Challenge, Tossie's Castle.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the one where they go into a room and replace a random object with chocolate and people have to figure out what it is?
Yes, you showed that to me.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah. No, you showed me that. I thought that was hilarious. Sometimes, I've been down a couple of rabbit holes on YouTube where I'm just watching old Japanese game shows.
Also, they seem to do a lot better with the talent shows. It's not just all random singers.
I wish they would remove singing from the talent shows and make those people go to the singing shows.
I can hear you singing. Poorly,
right.
Out of key. Also known as my usual singing.
Mine too. But anyways, yeah, I think this is fun, and the article sort of reflects that because it's a game based on cartoons that is now getting a cartoon.
Yes, we've gone full cycle. I just hope that it's better than some of the other Netflix originals. Netflix, they seem a lot more scattershot with quality.
Yeah, they are. The stuff that they get right is amazing, and then most of the rest of it is just junk. But I mean, they're copying the HBO model of last or maybe 2 generations ago. I mean, HBO used to do this. They just take whatever they could get back in the day just to have content to put on their channel. And Netflix is doing that. And then Netflix has been doing that with the content that they themselves produce. So, I mean, it makes sense, but I do hope, that this is better rather than worse.
Yeah, I also hope that, at some point we get more of a unification again, because we've seen a lot of splintering with video content. And honestly, I don't have the attention span to really want to be paying for more than 2 video subscriptions.
Yeah, I don't think we're seeing that returning. I think we're internet streaming stuff is headed the way that cable networks did. But I think that's a discussion for another time.
For another podcast?
When I'm more awake.
Well, wake up, because it's the community corner.
Indeed. So, way to slide us on over to that. So no letters or tweets this week.
Yeah.
But we did not.
No wonder you're so sleepy. It's been quiet. But to be fair, it was also for the 4th in the United States and also the rest of the world. But it's a little bit more important here.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, no letters, no tweets. But
if you wish to wake up Jared, you could send an email to vglpodcast@gmail.com or tweet us vglpodcast on the Twitter.
Indeed. Also, game club stuff. We've got a long-standing list of things that we have played and enjoyed, stuff that we've talked about playing. Everyone send me tweets and reminders on Discord until we get a rough schedule out that covers more than 2 weeks in advance. And apologies for needing to cancel
You mean game night?
Yeah, game night. What did I say?
I was about to, you said game club. Now I was trying to figure out 2 weeks of game. No, we have a little bit more than 2 weeks planned.
Yeah, no, sorry. I meant game night instead of game club. But sorry about canceling last night or Monday night. Had something come up in my personal life I needed to be available for. So just had to make sure I dealt with that.
Fun times?
No. But, say la vie. So yeah, everyone just tweet at me repeatedly, massively until I create a schedule and then post it on Discord.
Hang on, setting up script.
Thank you.
But how about something a little bit more fun and a quick discovery queue? Since, we're running kind of early.
Indeed. Let's blow through that discovery queue.
Yeah, and as usual, I've set up something and got one pretty much right away.
I don't even have Steam open, so you are the...
well, here. How the hell do you...
open.
How the fuck do you pronounce this?
Are you...
I'll just put it on the discovery queue list. I have no idea how to pronounce this.
Oh. Cubifactorium? I
mean, that's as close as we could get, probably. So, what happens when you mix Minecraft and Factoria, which I guess that's where they're getting the name?
You get sweet, beautiful, sexy games. That's what you get.
Well, there's another one in this sort of mixture of Mass Factory plus Town Builder, Cubifactorium, where it's a town builder where you're building and growing a thriving community, discover new lands, craft legendary weapons, and defeat your enemies. It's currently in early access. Doesn't have much of a discount on it, but looks like they're pretty early in development, so I'm imagining a pretty long early access. It's been in development since late 2017, and it's about 60% complete. So probably looking at a couple of years for it.
Yeah,
but it has some promise looking to it, doesn't it? It looks more fleshed out than most of the games in this genre. I would say this is sort of a subgenre. It's where the Venn diagram of factory builder and town builder kind of overlap, huh?
Indeed, that was a yawn.
Well, no need to stay excited. I would say this is probably up your alley, though.
Oh yeah, it definitely looks up my alley. I saw this on Keymailer when I was browsing around looking for some new games yesterday or a couple of days ago, and I was very excited to see it. And I did get it in my queue, but you got to it first, so
yeah, it was second for me. I looked up my queue before, and my first one was some random Chinese battle royale that's unplayable if you're not in mainland China. So, anyway, do you have one?
I do. Wolfenstein Youngblood. So, Wolfenstein. I can't remember if we talked specifically about Youngblood during the E3 show or not. But
I know we talked about the Wolfenstein stuff, but because they did the VR stuff as well.
Yeah. But it's the next Wolfenstein expansion game. It's only $30 brand new, so I don't know if that's expansion territory for this type of game or a spin-off type thing or what. But you are playing as BJ's two daughters just fighting them Nazis in, I believe, 80s Paris. It's either 70s or 80s Paris.
Well, good thing you're fighting against the Nazis. Otherwise, extra credits would get their panties in a twist again.
Yeah, very true. But, I mean, if you like what they have been doing with Wolfenstein over the last couple of games, I suspect you would like this. I know I will, unless it's just a broken mess when it comes out. But, I mean, it's set to release in just towards the end of this month, the 26th of July. So, not even a month away.
Huh. I just found something that looks interesting. At first, I nearly discounted it because it looked like just another, tower defense game, but it looks like it's a bit more. Exception, there's some Chinese characters before it. It's an AI programming game where you're building up a AI program to essentially go in and defeat your enemies. I mean, it's a pretty basic premise, and I've seen something like this before, but they're mixing it with a tower defense as well from the looks of it. And I haven't seen quite this mixture just yet. So if they go full hog with this, where they mix the AI programming into the tower defense well, which I have no idea if they do, it could be an interesting combination. Because tower defense is a pretty static strategy for the most part. So if they could do anything to mix it up, that would be pretty interesting to me.
Yeah. So I got another one. Age of Wonders Planetfall. So I've played a couple of the Age of games. And they've played kind of like Civ Light. Like the way the map controls feels much more like Civilizations, but it does focus a lot more on the combat aspect of the game as opposed to the research diplomacy aspect of whatnot. But this looks basically like Age of Wonders, but sci-fi. And I've said it. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I'm always a sucker for sci-fi. So Age of Wonders has always been pretty solid in my book. Adding a sci-fi element to it makes me happy. So
yeah, I would say not even a skin, but yeah, the full-on elements.
Yeah,
I think I added this after E3.
Yeah, I remember seeing it at the PC Game Show.
Yeah, it's one of the ones I added on my wish list for that was featured there. For me, it looked a lot more Civilization-esque as well, which isn't a bad thing. Has a stronger focus on the 4X strategy.
Yeah.
So I got another one that looks odd, and I'm just copying it over because I just found it because I had a couple of just crap games. Reventure. They say this is the one and only non-linear adventure with 100 different endings. So, a non-linear platformer adventure that has a ton of endings. Interesting. Looks like it has some pretty good reviews, but Steam reviews aren't always the greatest metric. Sometimes they could be a useful metric. But this one, it's a little hard to tell. It looks like there's a lot of people that are saying that it's very funny, though. So probably a lot of humorous elements in it as well.
Yeah. Okay. I've got Starbase. I'm just gonna read this. Starbase is a hybrid voxel vertex-based space MMO with fully destructible and infinitely expanding universe that focuses on building and designing spaceships and stations, exploration resources, gathering, crafting, trading, and combat. So I'm pretty sure anyone who's ever listened to the show before knows why I like the idea of this game. Looks kind of like
imagine why.
It looks, at least from the screenshots, like Space Engineers, but better.
Which, to be fair, that's not much of a high bar, depending on the aspect of Space Engineers you're talking about.
Yeah.
Did they ever fix the engine where it is an absolute shit on any system?
No. They keep saying that they make changes to it every few updates or every like big update, but I've never noticed any difference in it.
Yeah, want to skip that. Huh. Oh, VR only. Yeah. I prefer at least to have games that would be playable by anyone that's not just Jim.
Right.
Oh, here we go. That
right.
looks interesting. So, scroll. The 7th sector.
Yep.
What? It's sold already? Welcome to the 7th sector, set in a mysterious cyberpunk world. Immerse yourself in this intricate path, solving different puzzles, facing dangers, and collecting scattered information to discover the story of the world. So, a hidden lore game set in a cyberpunk world. I mean, that's pretty much you, right?
Yeah.
If it's done well.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look bad, does it?
No.
I mean, not a lot to talk about there because it is purposely mysterious.
So my queue's done. My last few games were trash. I still wound up with one. No, that's not mine. 1, 2, 3. I'm happy with 3.
Huh. Okay. You're going to laugh at the title, but stay with me here, all right?
Okay, I'm with you.
Littlewood.
Okay.
Littlewood is a town builder. Says the world has already been saved. Now it's time to rebuild your town, learn new hobbies, and forge lifelong friendships in this peaceful and relaxing RPG. So, a town builder, but more of a focus on RPG aspects. It reminds me of sort of the town building aspect of the Dark Cloud series, where it was, well, I imagine this isn't going to be as puzzle based, but going in and trying to essentially reassemble the world after everything went to hell. So it's a very interesting concept. Graphically, it's okay. I mean, I think maybe it's just the grass or lack of texture on it. It's just pretty much green with some darker green splotches in it. Makes it look a little cheaper.
Right.
But it doesn't look too bad, you know? Looks like they're going for a more jack of all trades approach to the town builder. So, hey, I got 2 town builders already.
Yay. How many is left? Do you have left in your queue?
I'm on my last one. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay. Anything good?
It's interesting. Oh, what the hell? Add one more to my list. What have they made also? Okay. Just making sure that it's not like, Lorali? The little she had was taken away, but she refuses to give up. She will fight, and not even death will stop her from getting it all back. So, a adventure horror game. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting concept. Or interesting idea. Not concept, idea.
Yeah, it looks like it's a point and click. So, yeah, we don't see too many point and clicks. We see a few. I actually skipped over one that looked rather bad. But this one actually looks like it has some promise to it. It's from Harvester Games that did The Cat Lady, which was another horror-based game. Published by Screen 7, which has a fair amount of games out. Oh, here's one that's pretty much our life story from them. The Adventures of Fat Man. What, no joke? No circle?
No, I missed it. I missed the opportunity there. Oh, you said Fat Man.
What do you think I said?
Honestly, it sounded like you said Batman. I was like, oh.
Well, it's basically Batman only is fat and doesn't have...
Fat Man.
Yeah. You're a fat man, the heroic crime fighter for the city of Shadowlawn. It's up to you.
Fat Man.
Still not our new theme song.
No.
But that is my cue. Some interesting ones. two town builders, Cuba Factorium, which they're definitely not trying to do Factorium. Well, obviously Minecraft Factoria. What would the Torium be? Or Orium. I don't recognize the third game in that because obviously it's three games put together. Cube, Minecraft, and it's Torio, so it wouldn't be M. We're gonna have to dissect this. We need to find out how the sausage is made.
Have to break out the Googles. Go look for the answer.
But that would be when you're more awake.
Indeed. So I had 3, and you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I also got Cuba Factorium.
Yeah, well, I also had a couple of those shitty, copy paste hentai games.
Gotcha.
The ones that are either jigsaw puzzles or the sliding blocks.
Oh yeah, just the best chef kiss games there are.
Chef's kiss?
Yeah, chef kiss.
I heard shift. I was thinking shift.
Oh. Yeah, it's a very shifty kiss. But with that coming to a close, hey Rage, why don't you hit them with the socials?
Well, I've been Caffeine Rage. You can find me on the YouTubes, Game with Caffeine Rage. You can find me on Twitter, Game with CR. Twitch maybe someday, twitch.tv/caffeine_rage, or you can find me on Steam. Hey, how about that? Caffeine Rage as well. And you've been?
Eating cashews.
No, that's a good one. But I went through that quickly so you could go get some sleep.
You did. I have been Gaming Psychologist. You can find me on the YouTubes by searching for Gaming Psychologist, on Twitter at JMA4707, and on Steam at JArthur4707.
If you wish to let either of us know what the podcast you're coming from is, the password for this week is fermentation. Fermentation. I'm making yogurt. So that's where that comes in. Or at least attempting to. We'll see if having to do on the counter is workable for me. Yeah, I'm going to have to talk to the apartment manager for that one. Whew. Someone install my oven racks upside down.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure how you do that, but people's stupidity knows no bounds, so.
Well, just when you think something's foolproof, the universe makes a bigger fool.
Life finds a way. I can't do a good Jeff Goldblum.
Life finds a way.
Maybe a little better.
Yeah, but you said a low bar.
That's fair.
Speaking of saying a low bar, how about an outro? If you wish to contribute to this absolute madness, you can do so. VGLpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics, or just tweet into us, VGL Podcast, on the Twitter. Our lovely, lovely patrons have helped pay for, all of this. And if you wish to find out more, you can do so patreon.com/VGL Podcast. And our lovely patrons have also made our Podbean possible, of course. Which hosts the RSS feed, show notes, and links to all our content online. Or you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, or your podcatcher of choice. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod. And our Discovery Key music is Doobly Doo by the same artist. You can find his work at incompetech.com. And
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Well, bye now.
Or what's left of it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Rolls across my snores. I didn't fall asleep. I've never fallen asleep while doing the show. I've gotten close a few times, but I've never fallen asleep while doing the show.
Yeah, I'm glad I keep you awake,
I stood up. I stood up for most of it tonight just to help me be more alert, but then my feet started to hurt because I'm flat-footed. I'm standing here barefoot.